Do you have plant problems like insects, diseases, weeds, nutritional problems? It could all be due to improper watering or not watering enough. I'm Dr. Denise DeBusk, a plant doctor with Rescue My Plant. So I look at plants and see what's wrong with them and figure it out. Let me show you my latest patient, Shirley. Shirley, from first look, she has a lot of nutritional issues. I know where she was planted, so it didn't have a lot of soil, and I planted it about a couple weeks ago, and I noticed it just wasn't thriving in that location. I believed it wasn't getting enough water because there wasn't enough soil. I know it had great soil because it was Mel's Mix, which was a mix of vermiculite, peat, and 5 different types of composts. So I know I was getting enough nutrients, but yet it had phosphorus deficiency. I also know that phosphorus deficiency can be a problem if it doesn't get enough water to move the phosphorus into its leaves. So I decided to transplant it to this bucket, and we'll see how Shirley's doing in a few weeks. This video is going to tell you a little bit more about when to water, how to water, what to look for when your plants need water, and other tips for watering. When's the best time to water? Early morning is best. That's because it allows the water to go deeply into the soil, preparing it for the heat of the day. Also, the water on the leaves evaporate quicker, which will reduce plant diseases. The second best time is early evening. Again, it allows the water to go deep into the soil in order to be used. But when it comes to the evening time, you need to direct the water towards the roots, not the leaves, because any water on the leaves will cause the possibility of diseases forming, because diseases need water in order to live and reproduce. The worst time is in the middle of the day. It's a myth that if you have water on the leaves and the sun goes on it, it will burn the leaves. So that's not true. But what is true is that if you water in the day, it's going to evaporate quicker. So it's not going to have as much water to be able to use during the day. Also, the roots are going to just kind of grow more on the surface level or in the shallow part. So they're not going to be as strong and be able to withstand the heat compared to roots that are able to go down deep into the ground to be able to access the water. How do you know when your plants need water? Well, the obvious symptom is wilting. If your leaves are wilting, then your plant needs water. But there's some other symptoms as well. They may be turning an off color. There may be other symptoms that your plants need water. It may be getting nutritional deficiencies because the water's not going up into the plant enough. So things like blossom end rot of tomatoes may occur because that's a calcium deficiency, but it's more often to happen when the calcium can't reach those parts that it needs to go to, like the fruit. You may also see a dull color of the leaves, or it may be stunted and not grow as well. I actually had an issue this past season before I got my irrigation system, and my plants weren't getting watered enough. And so I didn't have as good of a yield because of that. What's the best way to water your plants? You can hand water. If you're going to hand water, you need to aim the water towards the roots rather than the leaves because of the disease issue that can occur if you're watering the leaves. The water isn't absorbed into the leaves, it's absorbed through the roots. So you need to aim the water where it needs to go. But the best way to water your plants is through a drip system or through soaker hoses or something where water will go right to those roots. I use a watering grid because I do square foot gardening, and it allows the water to go right to the roots where it needs to go. There are also other systems that I don't recommend, which are overhead watering systems, because that keeps the water on the leaves and can increase diseases. There are certain watering systems that you can make, like PVC drip systems, or you can buy micro irrigation kits to create your system yourself. How often should you water your plants? Well, the textbook says you should water it 1 inch a week. Well, what does that even mean? If you're a home gardener, you're not going to know what 1 inch of water a week is. So the best way to do it is the finger test. All you need to do is put your finger in the soil as far down as you can and see if it's still moist. If you take your finger out and it has soil on it, then it's probably sticking to your finger because of moisture. So you don't need to water it yet. But if it comes out dry, then you need to add some water to your plant. Also, you can check those symptoms of droopy leaves or dull color to see if you need to water. When it comes to timing of watering, you need to test out the time. So if you have a watering system that's on an automatic timer, then start watering it for 15 minutes and see how far the water goes. If you have 6 inches of soil, you want to have that whole 6 inches of soil watered. If you have 12 inches, you want to have that 12 inches of soil watered so that it can use the water throughout the day. If using your finger doesn't seem quite scientific enough, you can always use a moisture meter. So this is a simple moisture meter. I stick it in the soil, and when the soil is wet, it turns blue. When it's dry, it's white. So this is an easy way to know if your soil is dry or not. Other tips for watering is that you need to be consistent. If you are watering just when you remember, then your plants aren't going to do that well. You're going to have low yield, you're going to have nutritional deficiencies, you're going to have so many insects that it's going to drive you crazy. So you need to make sure you're watering, and you need to have some kind of system for watering. By just hand watering, a lot of times when you're hand watering, you're not watering it deep enough or often enough, and so your plants don't do well. Your plants will tell you if they have problems. Also, if you're watering containers, then you need to do a few different things. Containers dry out much quicker than in-ground plants. So you need to do the tip test to see if it needs water. And you may need to water it a couple times a day, especially if you're growing vegetables, because things like tomatoes, they're fruiting. They're taking up a lot of water, so they need a lot more water. You may even have to water it a couple times a day in order to water it enough. Also, the age of the plant matters. So if you have a seedling, it's not going to need as much water than if you have a full-grown plant. This tomato here needs a lot more water than my cucumber seedlings that are over here. So make sure you're giving it enough water for it to produce what it needs. But if you have a seedling, overwatering could actually cause diseases like damping off and root rot. So too much water on a seedling can also be a bad thing. If you overwater, that doesn't make things better. You need to water consistently. By watering at the right time, with the enough amount of water and enough times during the day and deep enough, then your yield will improve and your garden will thrive because it will have less pests, diseases, nutritional issues, and it will produce the harvest that you've always dreamed. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and take my quiz to find out what your biggest garden problem is.